Yes, good evening. I see we have someone in the chat room. Good evening. I hope you're having a good day. Let me know if you could hear um, my audio well. Just trying to set up here. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so I feel a little rusty with doing the setup. Okay. Those who are, yes, good evening. I see we have more people in the chat room. Please let me know if you can hear the audio well. I want to just make sure everything is okay. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so I'm a little rusty in setting up. Okay, I'm still trying to set up everything here. Okay, it's still setting up. I see the stream now is green, so the stream is longer. I mean, stronger. Okay, I want to talk about certain topics for today. As you see in the title, I'm going to talk about there was a, a stabbing in Ramapo. It's a town in New York State. It's about 40-minute ride up north from New York City. And I also want to talk about there was another shooting at a church in Texas. And I thought it was very interesting that both of the incidences happened today. And I'm concerned about what this may mean for the general population. Okay. I'm still trying to set this screen up here. I want to be able to see any of the comments. Let's see. Just take me a moment. I really apologize for this. Just a moment. Okay, I'm just going to look at the screens here as I talk. Okay. I was watching, I'm going to first talk about the stabbing in New York State. Okay, and there was a video that I saw. And in fact, I'm going to play part of it. I'm just going to play the audio. Okay, let me just set this up here. Okay, I'm going to put it back a little bit. Now, what you're going to hear is the governor of New York State, as it pertains to the conference regarding the stabbing of this man in Ramapo, New York. Okay, let me put it back a little bit. Okay, you're just going to hear the audio.
Once we become intolerant of differences, then we are intolerant with America. Because America is all about differences. We are all from someplace else. And we were founded on the premise of tolerance for the differences. These acts are intolerant, they're ignorant to attack the Jewish community. The nation is based on freedom of religion. George Washington celebrated with the Jewish community. That's what America is all about.
Okay. Now, when I heard that, and now I hope you guys heard the audio of this. Okay, let me know if you heard what was just said. Please let me know. Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can see any of your comments. Okay. Okay, let me know if you heard what was. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm still trying to maneuver the screens here. It's really hard. Okay. So that was Governor Cuomo that you just heard. And when I heard him say what he just said about the U.S. being founded on tolerances, and that George Washington, the first president of the United States, how he had this liaison with the Jewish community. And when I heard that, I was extremely angry. And I thought it was insensitive. And I know that the governor feels he's saying something that's politically correct. But it is something that I think is wrong. And so one of the videos I was watching with this, I had written a comment in the area. And in fact, I had to do it twice. The first time that I wrote the comments, I wrote the first one, and then I pressed the comment button so that it will receive my comment, and then I went to put in a second comment. And when I was putting in the second comment, all of a sudden there was a glitch. Something happens, and what followed was that both comments were deleted. I thought maybe there was something, maybe I went to, the glitch had me go on a new window within my computer, one of the multiple windows that was up on YouTube. Because sometimes I watch more than one video at a time, So I thought maybe a new tab was selected and I was at a different site. So I realized that this glitch had me go somewhere, it moved me out of where I was. So I went back to the original window. And then I looked on the comment. And I saw that my comment was removed. So I wrote it again, the comment. And with this second comment, I made sure I made a copy, a window copy. You know, you're able to do like to print out what's on your screen. So I made a copy of my second attempt of the comment over the video regarding the stabbing. And the stabbing, now again, I don't want anyone of any race, religion, or anything like that. I don't want anyone physically assaulted, killed, or any form of violence against any person or animal. But my listening to this conversation, it sparked my anger. And it sparked my anger because, again, this talk about George Washington. Now, George Washington was a major slaveholder, for those of you who don't know. George Washington was a terrorist. And so, why do I call him a terrorist? Again, he was a major slaveholder, and he was a part of the human trafficking against millions of people from Africa. And then he bought these innocent victims. George Washington, of his day, he was one of the most prolific at his time of holding the victims and people who were human trafficked who came from Africa. See, now the term is human trafficking. People don't care about the term slave, but people nowadays listen to the term human trafficking because you're dealing with human souls, and slaves aren't perceived of being people who have souls, so you don't care about what happens to them. But when you start saying human trafficked, kidnapped individuals, then people's ears perk up. George Washington was a terrorist, and he caused harm for many people. And again, of his day, he was one of the most prolific in the holdings of human souls. And then on top of that, he had married a woman whose family was even more prolific in their violations against humanity, of people, of human souls. And so when George Washington married into this family, he became extremely wealthy. And in those days, one man's wealth was based on how many human souls that he acquired in the form of slaves. And who were these slaves? These were human beings, men, women, and children who were human trafficked and forced to do harsh labor until they died. And so when the governor of New York, in his speech against the attack that happened to the Hassidic Jew in New York State, he's saying that this is an act of terrorism, what happened to this man in Ramapo. Now again, I hope this man in Ramapo, I hope he gets well and has a speedy recovery. And I wish well on his family and friends. I wish them all the safety. Because again, I do not promote. Yes, hi, Digital Pit Boss. Yes. Let me know if you can hear me well. in all this. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so I'm trying to navigate on the monitor here. It's just going to be audio that you hear. I may show you some of the things on the screen, but for now it's just going to be audio, and you can see the picture of me. So either way, yeah, I'm discussing about I'm going to be talking about two major things. About there was a stabbing in upstate New York. It's about in the town of Ramapo, New York. Okay, great. I'm glad you can hear me clearly. Yes, so I'm very insulted about the governor of New York in his discussion to an audience of people regarding the today's stabbing today. I don't know what time of the day. It's sometime early in the morning, in the daytime. The man was about 30 years of age, and he was going to his place of worship. And when he was on his way, he gets jumped from behind, and he was stabbed multiple times. And so I'm concerned about the speech that Governor Cuomo gave regarding this individual. And it's a lot of people that he is addressing. Okay, let me see if I can make something bigger here. Okay, let me see if I can play that tape again. Let me see. Still just toggling through here. I'm just trying to find. Yeah, I'm going to continue playing the audio of Cuomo. Okay, so he just made mention about George Washington and how he had a liaison with the Jewish community back then. But remember, see, as I say regarding George Washington, he was a terrorist who was the first president of the United States of America. And both George Washington, the white community, white Christian community, and the Jewish community of his day were the terrorists against black people. And in fact, in those days, that skin color was a status of whether one is going to be slave or free. And that if you were a dark-complected person, a person of color, a non-European, you would be kidnapped, even if you came to the U.S. as a free person. Your color was to be considered a status to become enslaved. And if your skin was white, that was the status for you to be free. So let me continue more about Governor Cuomo. You're just going to hear the audio. Okay, let me play it now.
Ignorance, intolerance, and it's also illegal. And for government, the question is, what are you going to do to stop it? And how are you going to protect us? 13 incidents against the Jewish community. Nationwide scourge of hostility. Other incidents in this state attack the ignorance, attack the intolerance, education, cultural awareness, but attack the illegality. Yes, it's ignorant. Yes, it's intolerant. It's also illegal. And we will enforce the law. We're going to have an increased police presence. We have the toughest hate crimes laws in the United States of America, and we are going to enforce them to the full extent of the law. I also believe the situation has gotten so bad, frankly, that we have to increase our legal enforcement, not just with more police, but we have to change the laws to call this what it is. This is terrorism. It is domestic terrorism. These are people who intend to create mass harm, mass violence, generate fear based on race, color, creed.
That is the definition of terrorism. And just because they don't come from another country doesn't mean that they're not terrorists. And they should be prosecuted as domestic terrorists, because that's what they are. And I want this state to be the first state to have a domestic terrorism law, to express how ignorant this is, how intolerant it is, and how criminal it is. And I'll be proposing that law for this state.
Okay, just put it on pause. Please let me know. Okay, okay, I just corrected something with the mic. Yes, so I see that someone said it's Digital Pit is saying that it's better. Okay, so did you hear the last part when Governor Cuomo is saying that he's going to enact different new laws? Please let me know if you heard that part, because I had to do an adjustment with the audio. Okay. Yeah, so have I don't know how to do that with the how to make you a moderator. Let me press this button here. So I'm still new at all this. I haven't done worked on the screen in a while. Yeah, I haven't done a live stream in a while. Okay, so let me know. Have you? I don't know how to fix this screen here. So were you able to hear the last part with Governor Cuomo, digital? I can make this thing bigger here. Hit the three dots to the right. Oh, okay, I see it. Okay, I just made my screen bigger so I could see the comments better. Okay. So, my concern about this is that you have a Governor Cuomo, who's going to enact new policies. Now, they really don't know what happened to this individual who was stabbed. Now, in New York City, there are tons of people who get stabbed. Some people, they're able to take property from them, and sometimes they're not. But in those cases, it's never considered a hate crime. Why is it that if the person is a Hasidic Jew, why is it immediately classified as a hate crime? Now again, I do not promote anybody to get hurt in any way. I don't believe in physical violence or name-calling people. But I feel sensitive about this because, see, I sense something happening in politics in the country. And I find that this happening, let me get the comments here. Okay, I sense that the politics that's happening in the United States, I sense it changing. I sense that you're going to have things happening all different parts of the country. And it's designed, in my opinion, that it's going to change policies, but majorly. And so you just heard with Governor Cuomo of New York is going to implement this. And he said that there were 13 Jewish people from December, I think he said December 7th, that were targeted, and that it's classified as a hate crime. See, if you make, my fear is that if you make certain categories of hate, that like for example, in New York City with bus drivers, if you hit a bus driver, now I don't know why anyone wants to hit a bus driver, but if you attack a bus driver, it will be considered a federal crime, and there's special penalties for people who commit felonies. So this is going to affect how people relate to one another. I think when you have special crimes, special conditions, when a particular crime happens, that there's a new type of penalty and a stronger penalty. So, aren't we all equal? Why is it that if you attack a person of that faith, that it's a hate crime? And again, with a hate crime, isn't that now considered a felony? So it's like it's increasing the sensitivity of the laws, that it's making almost like anything now considered a hate crime or a felony, and then special penalties. And I feel that this is being done on purpose. And in history, in the United States, you have people, and I'm not saying that that's what happened in this specific incident, I'm not saying that, but that in history, you've had people in various communities who claim that they were attacked because of whether their race, religion, sexual orientation, right? And then it was found out that that wasn't what happened, and that it was staged. And so I'm concerned that whether certain things that happen, whether, that they could stage certain, I could hear the last, but okay. That I could, that people could stage events. And when it's staged, then you could make it so that, hey, let's change policies to get what we want. Change the laws so that we could put more and more restrictions on the public. That is my concern. That is the meat of my concern in this situation. Not only with this this assault on this man in Ramapo, New York, but also what I heard today, and I heard both stories that I'm going to mention just within like an hour apart of each other. Both incidences happened today. So I already mentioned the first one with regard to the Hassidic Jew in Ramapo who was stabbed. The person came from behind him and started stabbing him multiple times. So the second incident that I found out today was about the shooting in Texas. Again, another shooting in Texas in a church. Okay, let me see if I can find that report here. Okay, I'm just looking on my screen. I have multiple screens up to try to find. Okay, let me see here. Just trying to find what I was looking at. Okay, I don't see it here. Well, anyway, it was a person had entered a church, and the person was sitting, and then all of a sudden, this person in this church takes out this massive weapon, and and they have on the internet the actual. They don't show the person actually being. I mean, they don't show any blood or gore, but you see the person, and then you see a person slumped. You know, they edit out that part so you don't see the person actually getting hit by the bullets. But a total of 2 parishioners of that church were shot to death. And when this shooting began, there were security in that church. And you see that this is all done on camera. Cameras was videotaping it. And you see the security take out their weapons and shot the man dead. The whole thing lasted maybe 6 seconds. Now, luckily in Texas, these laws were passed this year, I think they said, because there was some other shooting in churches in Texas, and luckily they got this law passed that you can bring, you can carry your weapon in church, at least security. And luckily they had that law passed, because if they didn't have any security that had guns on them, a lot of people would have died from this shooting. Okay? So my concern in all this is that why is it being done now? Now Texas cannot find, they don't know the reason why these people were, the church incident. But isn't it something? You got a Hassidic Jew going to his place of worship, and then you have a Christian church with a gunman. And I'm just wondering, what is it all about? And again, Governor Cuomo, with regard to the stabbing of a man out in the street who's going to his place of worship, and that, this whole thing is about intolerance. And is it all about intolerance? Or is the system making people hostile and want to do things? Why all of a sudden, why all this violence against people? So also what I wanted to talk about with regard to the stabbing in Ramapo, New York, like I may mention earlier in this live stream that when I first learned of the stabbing of the Hassidic, I wrote a comment. I wrote a first comment, and then I pressed the comment button for it to get processed, to be uploaded. And then I proceeded with my second comment. And then all of a sudden, there's a glitch. And then both things get deleted. The one that's already was saved and the one that I was typing. And I didn't understand what's happening. So my concern also is, hey, that our freedom of expression, our freedom to write comments. Now, again, I didn't use any profanity. I mentioned about George Washington being a terrorist, but yet Governor Cuomo is trying to show a good face to the community. Yes, thank you, Janet, that yes, we're living in the last days, yes. And I feel that we're being set up. That is my concern. And I was filled with such disgust because I feel that there's a setup happening, that they are selecting. I mean, because people get stabbed all the time. I live in New York City, and people are being stabbed all the time. But they don't call it, what do you call it, what do you call it, bias crime or hate crime, right? And I feel that they're using different demographics, whether it be a black person like the guy, Juicy Smollett, that happened earlier this year, okay? And now you have this with a Hasidic Jew, and then they're saying, oh, well, 13 Jews were attacked in in December of this year, and that it's like an epidemic. So I feel that there's they're making some people to get more attention than others, and I don't know. Is it just my imagination? Is it my imagination that some groups are getting more attention? Now again, I don't want anyone to be hurt in this country, regardless of their religion, race, or anything. Oh, yes, discrimination. I don't want it. I don't want it at all. So why is it happening now? And on the same day? Why is this happening on the same day? Why? And why these specific groups? A church, see, both of them were places of worship. One was going to a place of worship, and one happened inside a place of worship. And what I perceive is that this is a setup so that the government could pass new laws to put more restrictions on people. To put, there's also cameras. How come these cameras that are set up all over the cities, how come they never seem to be able to find the bad guy? Why is that? There's more. Our privacy is being invaded, just like my privacy and my ability to write a comment pertaining to the stabbing, and then it gets deleted. Why is that? Why both? I thought, well, the second comment I was processing, and I was just about to press the button for it to be uploaded, and then there was a glitch, and it deleted both, the one that I was typing in and the one that I already accepted. Why do I perceive that if you talk about certain people, or if your views are contrary, and again, I only mention facts in history and how it made me feel, and that was it. But it was deleted. So I feel that it doesn't want you to disagree with what happened, about what was being said about the incident in I can't pronounce it now, Ramapo, New York, which is has a lot of people of the Hassidic faith up there. Why is it that if you disagree with a certain policy that affects a certain people, why are your comments deleted? Why are some videos pulled down? Why is it, considered hate speech or anti-Semitic if you don't agree with a particular policy? I'm not against anybody's religion. Your religion is your religion. I care about how the differences on how people are treated, and to have when Governor Cuomo, again making mention that the liaison that George Washington and the Jewish people back then, that they were like friends. How could you say that when George Washington was a terrorist who was involved in human trafficking against black people? Please, someone tell me, why would you link that? He didn't have, Governor Cuomo never had history in class? Is he that uneducated that or desensitized that the lifestyle of that president was criminal against humanity? I think it's just so insensitive. I perceive again that new laws are going to be implemented, and again, it's the end of the year. The new year begins like in 3 days from now. You don't think this is just by accident that the upcoming year is almost here? You don't think they're going to implement some new regulations? It's like a tit for tat. Here you had something against a Jewish man, and then boom, then you have something with a white church, white Protestant church, who had a gun in the church and used it against the culprit. See that? It's like a tit for tat. And it's like they're counteracting each other. I don't know. I'm just upset about everything. Okay, Janet is saying we are leaving in the United States a free country. I'm not sure what you mean. The word control, it's not going to be private. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, anyone else has any opinion about the incident that happened in Ramapo, New York, or the shooting in the church, the Christian church in Texas? Let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. Yeah, it's very stressful to me. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not really sure what else I want to say. But again, my main concern is that I feel that more of our rights are going to be taken away. Our rights about what you think about certain people, and that certain people will have a special status. And because of that special status, then more of the money is going to be funneling into that specific group. And I'm concerned about that. I am concerned about that. And again, yeah, one of the comments I made to the video, I said, okay, in the black community, you have blacks who are, we don't have the same type of education or educational opportunities. Yes, we have more people who, there's abilities to go to colleges, but somehow it's not being represented here, at least in New York City where I'm from. Yeah, everybody's so quiet. Don't be scared. Yeah, thank you, Jeanette. So yes, you have different things that are going on. Healthcare is a disparity within the black community. So we don't get the same health care. And you're not treated well. If someone comes in with a certain type of health insurance, let's say it's Medicaid, they're not going to be treated well, right? They're not going to be given the same opportunities of quality health, right? And usually your ability to afford something is based on what type of work or jobs that you have. And a lot of times these jobs and opportunities are denied you just because of your race. Okay, so that's one thing. You have, I mentioned about education. Now, the schools in black neighborhoods versus in white neighborhoods or Jewish neighborhoods, it's not the same. Look in those colleges. Who are in those advanced degrees? Again, there's the disparity between blacks and whites being represented in college. Who gets hired in those top jobs? Okay. When you look in Congress, you look at the, when you in the White House, when you see the people, when there's meetings and stuff, and then when they show the camera at the people who are sitting, it's overwhelmingly white men, overwhelmingly. So where are the black people to be represented? Who are they representing these people? How is it that you're looking at all this and you wonder, how could this be when you have a country, I think it's 80 million black people in the United States, but yet when you look in the government and the high levels of government and certain government agencies, the alphabet agencies, they're overwhelmingly white men. And then you look at the prisons. Why is it that mostly black men are in prisons in comparison to white men who are in prison? Why is this? These are important questions. So if Governor Cuomo is talking about terrorism and safety, aren't these things that I mentioned, isn't this a type of terrorism? Isn't racism terrorism? Isn't denying people the right to live in a particular neighborhood what you call redlining or gerrymandering? Is that not a form of terrorism against people? So that you push them out because you hate them, and then you make where they live, the blacks live, you make it so that you decrease the value of their homes. And there are documentaries about that policy that they were doing regarding the neighborhoods, and that neighborhoods are created, and some are created to be poor, and some are created to be rich. Why is the system keeping these particular black people at a disadvantage even in the homes that they live in? Why is it that you can't get certain loans if you're a black person? I used to live in the Caribbean briefly for about 3.5 years. And one of the locals there, and this was in the U.S. Virgin Islands of St. Thomas. And what happened, what the story that was told to me was that you had a white person who was new on the island. He was on the island for maybe less than a month. He applied for a bank loan for something. I don't know what the thing was, but he applied for a loan and he got it. But what happened once he got the money, he left the island. And then the bank started to go to the neighborhood of the blacks that lived there and inquire, hey, where did that person go? So this is another form of discrimination / terrorism against black people, even on the island of St. Thomas, which is overwhelmingly black. See, they were very quick to give the white man the loan, but the blacks of that island, they are more particular, and they don't want to give out as many loans to the blacks that live there for generations. Isn't that a form of racism? Isn't it? Police brutality. Why is it that, like, for example, there was this, I think he was 19, and he goes armed with a gun into a black church and starts shooting the women and the men of the Bible study. Okay? Now, wasn't that terrorism? And when the guy left to escape being detained by the police, now what happened? How come the police didn't shoot and kill him after getting the report that he came and slaughtered all the people in the Bible study group? Why is that he comes out alive? And then they brought him to a, what was that, Burger King or some McDonald's, a place to get hamburgers, and fed him. A murderer, a mass murderer. Is that not terrorism? And is it terrorism when the law enforcement gave him special treatment and they didn't kill him? And yet you have blacks, like earlier this a couple of years ago, you have a black man who was being targeted with this what they call electromagnetic impulse signals, and it affected his mind, and he went to the authorities about what was happening to him, and then ultimately he went on to go on a shooting spree at a library in his former town, but they shot him dead quickly, and he had about 40 bullets in him. Okay, they made sure they killed him. This black fellow, it was a black fellow that happened to. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't shoot anybody dead or wound anyone. I think he purposely, the black fellow, he did use his weapon, but I think it was just to scare people because he wanted to die, and he wanted to make a point that he was angry, and he put up a video of what he was going to do, and he apologizes. Look, I'm a Christian fellow, but this is happening to me. I went for help, told the authorities what was going on, etc. So why is it that with the same someone using a gun to commit acts of murder, when it's a white person, they don't shoot them dead, the police, but if it's a black person who is about to use it against people, why do they shoot him dead? Isn't this also a form of terrorism to impose on blacks that if you get out of line, that they're going to shoot to kill? Is this not a form of terrorism? So again, when I hearing about Governor Cuomo of New York talk about terrorism, but it's being called terrorism because it is a Jewish man. There are tons of people who are being shot every day, who are being stabbed every day in New York State and in New York City every day. But it's not called acts of terrorism, and many of these victims go unheard. I'm really sad about all this. Again, I'm not promoting any violence on any human being, any person, regardless of their race, religion, national origin, or sexual orientation. You are who you are, and we all should be treated equally. But I perceive that equality is not being represented to everyone. And I think both of these incidences, the stabbing in Ramapo, New York, and the church shooting, is somehow connected in some way to change policy. And the policy is to take more and more of our rights away. Yes, hello, new visitor, Veronica. Thank you for coming in. Yes, boy, I feel I don't know what else to say, but it was really working on my heart. I was getting very, very upset because I feel that we're being duped. If they really care, if people really, if Governor Cuomo really cares about equality, why aren't we getting the reparations? Isn't when we're denied reparations, when Black people are being denied reparations, is that not a form of terrorism? Terrorism is designed to control, to not give a people what they deserve, to repair the wounds that they incurred. Is that not a form of terrorism and harassment? I wish that they really start thinking about these things, but instead they're focusing on a relatively new group and giving them all the attention and perhaps new laws to protect them. But yet you got Black people right here, Black people who were enslaved, Black people who are being hunted down by police force. And again, not all police are bad. And then you have some people suggest that certain weaponry like, what do you call it, those electronic impulses, the microwave weaponry that is being used. Now you look in some neighborhoods, Black neighborhoods, and you see the behavior of the people. And I said, this is not normal. This behavior is not normal behavior. So isn't these quiet weapons of destruction, is that not a form of terrorism? When you put drugs into certain neighborhoods, why is it always focused on Black neighborhoods? Why is it that? Isn't that a form of terrorism? And you have documentaries that discuss about the drug trafficking and that Black neighborhoods are being pinpointed on by certain ABC agencies. Is that not a form of terrorism? I am really sad about this because I perceive in my spirit that it's going to be we're being set up, that this country is being set up by either staging events or over publicizing certain events. Because again, all over the United States, there are stabbings and shootings, and that's nothing new. But why are they focusing on certain people who are victims to crime? That is my question. That is my question. So these are my concern, folks. And those of you who have a spiritual life, I mean, I'm not into religion anymore, but spirituality. And I would like those of you who care about what's going on, those people who perceive that there are systems taking place, I mean, to set up different laws to oppress people, to take away our rights. You know, please pray for all of us. Please pray for peace through love, because we're going to need it. Yeah, we're going to need it. We need intervention. So that's all that I have to say today. I just had to get it off my chest. So thank you again for listening, and may you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.